All right, good morning and welcome to Daf Yomi, just Daf it. Maseches Moed Katan, Daf Yud Ches, number 18, Chai. I have a special share for you today. As I mentioned in previous shiurim, we're trying to start this new project called Daf Yomi Yeshiva or Yeshiva's Daf Yomi. I'm not sure which one takes precedence, the Yeshiva or Daf Yomi. I mean the Yeshiva or YouTube. Sorry, not Yeshiva Daf Yomi. Yeshiva YouTube Yeshiva. I wasn't able to procure a guest lecturer, so I'll be providing the Ian Shear, probably less than 8 minutes, as a separate shear after this shear. Be the second installment of Yeshiva's YouTube. Today's topic is going to deal with the power of tefillah, how much does tefillah really help, and what is the purpose of tefillah ultimately. Okay, we'll start from the top of Yud and Aleph, the second line. Pinchas Achva de Mar Shmuel, Isra Bey Milsa. Pinchas, who is the brother of Shmuel, one of his relatives died. Apparently, he wasn't related to Shmuel. Must have been either one of Pinchas's children or his wife. Al Shmuel Mishal Taimamine. Shmuel went to console him. Chazneu Latufre de Habanafisha. He saw his nails, his fingernails, presumably, that were very long. Amrle Amailo Shakaltu. Why didn't you cut them? Amrle, because we just learned that Shmuel says that Allah makeup Avel. Even during Avelis, you're allowed to cut your nails. Amrle, so Pinchas said back to me, did they have a mimizalzel bekuli high? If you were an Avel, you would mizalzel, you would degrade your Avelis so much. Sometimes when you say things, right, as people always say, it was a mistake that came out of the mouth of someone important, a powerful person, and therefore it caused, seemingly, I don't know exactly it causes, or retroactively see that Hashem planned that. He tells you what He's planned. The words that come out of someone's mouth, I don't know if it means that it causes it. We'll see how this discussion also be related to the Ian with Ben Sion today. Shiva's YouTube. Stay tuned. The instrument of Shmuel lost one of his relatives, I guess one of his children, or his wife. Al Pinchas Achval the Mishal Taimamine. So Pinchas, his brother, came to console him. Shaklina Latufre Chavtina Laape. Shmuel, when he was there, cut his fingernails and threw it at him. Don't you know that a covenant is dependent on your lips? When you say something, it has an effect. Where do we see this? Avram said to his servants, stay with the donkey. He said, me and Yitzchak are going to go to the Akedah, we'll go prostrate ourselves to Hashem, and we'll return to you. So he said, both of them. It ended up that both Avram and Yitzchak returned, and Yitzchak wasn't slaughtered at the Akedah. So we thought, based on this teaching, that you're allowed to cut your nails during Avelis, the yadi and the regalo, only your hands, the regal, you can't really see, you're wearing shoes. Amar Ravanan, Bar Tachliv, Shmuel explained this directly to me. Loshna diyad, loshna regal, even the foot you're allowed to cut. Amar Rav Chia, Barashi, Amar Rav, Uve, Ganustera Ostra, to cut it with scissors, precision scissors, those small scissors used to cut your nails, that is really umnus, and you should avoid that on Avelos. Amar Rav Shem Barabba, Havakim Kamed Rabbi Yochanan Midrasha, B'chol Moed. I was in the base medras of Rabbi Yochanan on Chol Moed. V'shakin Latufre B'shinei. Some people have this habit. He bit his nails with his teeth. V'zarkinu, he threw them on the ground. Shaminat Las. We learned three things from this practice of Rabbi Yochanan. Shmamina Mutar Litol Supernai B'chol Moed. We learned, like we passed yesterday, that you're allowed to cut your nails on Chol Moed. Shmamina Ein Behem Mishum Mius. I don't know why. I always had this impression. I have to look this up again. But the Mishnah Brura seems to say that you're not allowed to cut your nails on Chol Moed unless you, if you had the opportunity to cut them before Chol Moed, unless you cut them before Chol Moed, the day before Chol Moed, you want to cut them again, then you could do that. But if you had Pnai, you didn't do it, then you're not allowed to do it. It's not really indicating in the Gemara that it's really the case. It's only if you didn't have a chance to do it. You're an honest. Seems there's like a blanket head there to cut your nails on Chol Moed. Anyway, Shmamina Mutali told us we're not Chol Moed. You're allowed to cut your nails on Chol Moed. It's not disgusting considered to take your nails off with to bite your nails. And we see that you're allowed to throw your nails. Once you cut your nails, you're allowed to throw them on the floor. That's true. Three things were said about nails that you cut. Hakovran tzaddik, someone who buries his cut nails, considered tzaddik. Sorfan, if he burns them, he's a chassid, he's a pious person. Zarkan Rasha, you throw them on the floor, you're Rasha. Taimamai, why are you Rasha? You throw them on the floor. Shema Tabar Alen Isha Ubara, maybe a pregnant woman will step on them with tapil and it will cause her to have a miscarriage. So the Gemara says Isha b'midrasha lo shchicha. The reason he was able to do it in the base medrash is because it's not shchiach. Women don't oftentimes go in the base medrash. It sounds like they're allowed to go in the base medrash. Some people say a woman's not allowed to go in a base medrash. You really never see a woman in the base medrash, but it's not shchiach. It's not common, so he wasn't worried about it. Right? They'll sweep them up and they'll throw them out of the base medrash, and the pregnant woman's going to step on them. Once placement of the nails has changed, you put them in a different place, so therefore they no longer have the same power to be mazik isha. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav Zug ba mechamton lifnei Rebbe. Rav Yehuda says the name of Rav. A pair of people came from Chamton. Chamton was a place in Eretz Yisrael in front of Rebbe. Mar Zutra, which is another Amoras Amasi Zug ba mechamton lifnei Rebbe. He was the source of telling us the following teaching that a pair came in front of Rebbe Ubikshem and Supernayim. They asked him whether to cut their nails during Avelis, and he allowed them to do it. And the person who's saying this says theoretically we can infer that Rebbe would be matir even to cut your mustache on Chol Moed, because we're going to see it gets in the way of eating. Shmuel says actually they did actually ask him about cutting their mustache. It doesn't mean that you can cut your whole mustache. It means this corner, if anyone has a beard or a mustache familiar, the mustache actually grows into your lips and it bothers you when you eat. That you're allowed to do in Avelis, even though you're not allowed to take a haircut, you're not allowed to shave. It's only talking about part of the lip where it actually, only if it's going to prevent you from eating a normal way. He says my whole mustache. He had long hairs on his mustache, so therefore he was allowed to shave his whole mustache because it burdened his eating. Amar Avital Safran Shmei the Rav Papa, another teaching of this Hamora. Paro Moshe Ama. Paro days of Moshe, how tall was he? He was an Amma tall. We learned an Amma the other day, based on social distancing is 6 feet. So 4 Arichu Dalanamas for Nidoy translates into each Amma. Dalanamas would be 1.5 feet. We should say that. Your tzitzis only have to be either 3/4 of an amma or an amma, even the biggest amma, so amma 1.5 feet. I don't think you have to wear a size 24. I think a size 18 would be good enough. So the Gemara says he was an amma. He was only 1.5 feet tall. V'zikno amma, his beard, he had a beard, paro, that was also 1.5 feet. Upar mashtako amma v'zeres, and his male organ was 1.5 feet, and a zeres, which is another half an amma. So another half an amma is, let's say, 3/4 of a foot. So therefore, he had his male organ was more than 2.25 feet. It's pretty long. People that are lowly, very short people, Hashem will bring to rule over Klal Yisrael when they do sins. Hitler, also, he was a very short person. I think Stalin was also pretty short. V'amar avital safra mishmei derav papa parosh haya b'moshe amgushi haya. Another teaching. He was an amgushi. Either he was a sorcerer, or he was someone who blasphemed Hashem, who cursed Hashem. Haya amar shenemar hinei yozeh hamayim. He's going out to the water. Why was he going to the water every day? He did sorcery by the water. Elu mechabsin b'moed abam medinas hayam. And the Mishnah continues: the following people are allowed to do laundry on Chol HaMoed. Amar Basi Rabbi Yochanan, Misha Ein Lo Al Chol Kechem Mutar Lechabsin B'Chol Shemon. If you only have one shirt, one good shirt, you're allowed to wash it on Chol HaMoed. Meser Rabbi Yirmiyah asked the following question from our Mishnah: Elu mechabsin b'moed. Only the following people are allowed to do laundry on Chol HaMoed. Abam medinas hayam. It lists a bunch of cases. You get out of jail, you come to Siyam. It doesn't mention Ein Chalak and Hani and Misha Ein Chalak Lo. It doesn't mention a head there for someone who only has one shirt. Amar later Yaakov Yirmiyah asked for the Chamasnisin Amar Hasisin Alfagav the Islay Trey Matan. Our Mishnah is talking about a case where we have two or more shirts and they're dirty. So then you can only do it if you had an honest beforehand. If you have one shirt, right? You can't keep it clean for the whole Chol HaMoed, so you wash it before Chol HaMoed. And on Chol HaMoed, it comes dirty, you're allowed to wash it. Shalach Rav Yitzchak Bar Yaakov Bar Giyur B'Shmei Rabbi Yochanan Kol Kli Pishtan Motel Lechabsan B'Chol Shalmod. You have garments made out of linen. Most people don't wear garments made out of linen, but if you have linens, your bed sheets they're called linens. It's interesting, right? Linens, your bed sheets are called linens because the most comfortable bed sheets are made out of linen. If you didn't know that, that's what it's called linens. But let's say you had clothes made out of linen, expensive suit, maybe they put some linen in there. You're allowed to wash them in Chol HaMoed because it's not a lot of work. It's not a tircha yisera. It's easy to clean linen clothing. Meisiv Rava is follow Kashim Mitzbach Adayim. Mishnah says only if you have towel, hand towels, Mitzbach Safar, or you have it's called a cape. The things that barbers put on you to catch the hair. It's called a cape. If you check it out, a barber's cape. Hani and these things are allowed to wash. Kli Pishtan Lo. Anything made out of, list all the type of clothes you're allowed to do, only these things, but any kli pishtan, the head there for any linen clothing doesn't mention. Amar le, abayim, this is an afilu, top of Yecham Beis, afilu the sharmini. Mishnah's talking about all types of fabrics, but when it comes to pishtan, that you're allowed. Amar bar Hidya, I personally saw on Chol HaMoed, the Kinneret, in Tveria, the mafkila, mishchali, the mani, kitna, b'chol, the moed. Everyone was bringing basketfuls of linen clothing to be washed in the Kinneret on Chol HaMoed. So you see, it's motor maskila Abaye. Abaye said, then what's the proof? Man leimalan debratzim chacham ma'avdi. How do you know these people acted in accord with the will of the chacham? Dilma shelo bratzim chacham ma'avdi. Maybe they did shelo kalacha. You can't rely on the fact that people did that. Mishnah, new Mishnah. Ve'elu kosin Moed. One of the things you're allowed to do on Chol HaMoed is to write for recreational purposes. You're not allowed to write because it's a malacha and it's a tircha to write. It's much easier to type on your phone, on the computer. Certain things you're allowed to write because they're considered pressing needs. They're considered sorach hamoed. We'll see why they're sorach hamoed. Kedushay nashim, to write down a star of kedushin, v'gitin, a get, v'shovrin, a receipt, daitiki. This is like one of the last requests of a dead person, where to give his money to matana, or to write a star. You're giving a present to someone. Or pruzbulin, a pruzbul is to make sure that shmita doesn't relinquish your loan. Igros shum, these are letters written by a basin, valuations of property. Igros mazon, shtaros that say how much support, financial support, food support someone has to pay to someone's children. Shtari chalitza miyunim. Chalitza is when someone who decides not to be miyabim. Is cholitz. And isha miyunim is when a woman who's married off by her brother or his mother when she's young, the father wasn't there. They were on kedushin derabanan. So when she comes of the age of 12 years old, she can be maya and she can refuse the marriage. You don't even need a get. Vishtari birurin. These are sakim of based in order to tell inheritors which parts of the inheritance they get. Xeros based in, or any rules, any writs of a based in. The Igros shel Rishus, also the government documents, they sign things to law. Yes, Joe Biden and Naftali Bennett are allowed to write on Chol HaMoed. Joe Biden doesn't have heter because he's not Jewish, but Naftali Bennett is a heter, and he's allowed to write government documents on Chol HaMoed. Amar Shmuel, you're allowed to get engaged on Chol HaMoed. Shema yikadmenu acher, because we're afraid that if he doesn't do it on Chol HaMoed, someone else will come ahead of him and take the woman away from him. Whereas the Messiah say our mission is approved to Shmuel. It says you're allowed to write Kedushin Nashim, Shtar Kedushin. My love, Shtar Kedushin. Aren't we talking about a star that makes a Kedushin? Mamish. Lo, Shtari Psiksa. Gemara says maybe it's not really Shtar Kedushin. Maybe you're not allowed to get Rise and Cholamod. What are you allowed to write? You're allowed to write monetary chiyuvim, obligations. Rav Gidel Marav, Rav Gidel Marav, Kama Atanos in the Bincha Kach V'Kach. Kama Atanos in the Bincha Kach V'Kach. When people are about to get engaged, the parents help contribute to the young couple's finances. So when they're very excited about the engagement, so the father says, "I'll give this and this amount to my son," and the father of the bride says, "I'll give this amount to my daughter." Amdu v'kidshu, and then they go and do kiddushin. Kanu hene and dvarim haniktin ba'amira. So they do the kiddushin before Chol Moed. They didn't write the star down. So this kinyan happens with amira. That's a halacha. Normally a kinyan needs to write it down or do a ma'aseh. This amira makes the kinyan. You can't retract what you do, but there's no proof that there was done. The deal was done. So therefore you can write it on Chol Moed. So therefore, it's not a proof that you're allowed to mekadesh on Chol Moed. Messiah. So the Gemara says maybe a different proof for Shmuel. Enos and Nashim Moed. We learned in the Mishnah on Daf Ches you can't get married on Moed. Lo b'sulos v'almana. It's not a b'sul and almana. But lo miyabmin mish simcha lo. You can't have yibum because it's a simcha lo. Hala ari. It doesn't mention anything about erisin shari. So you see from our Mishnah, it's mutter. The Gemara says lo mi ba'ikam. It's not a proof. Let me buy la aris look of in mitzvah. For sure, you can't do erisin because you're not doing a mitzvah. I feel Lisa, but also even to get married to a woman where that night when you get married to her, you're going to engage in marital relations. You're going to be together. You're going to be Makai and Pru or Vu, or the mitzvah of Nisuin if there is a mitzvah according to the Rambam. Now, mitzvah, even though you're doing a mitzvah, that's the chiddush of the Mishnah. It's still us doing Chol Moed because in Marvin simple with Simcha. Tashma. Another proof. The Tana Beishmul Ma'arsin Avalo Konsin. You could do Erisin on Chol Moed, but you can't do Nisuim. You know, Osin Sudas Erisin, you can't make, even though you can do Erisin, you can't make a party, you can't make a vort, or you can't make an engagement party. Lo Miyabmin, and you can't do Yibum, they Simcha Lo. You can't do Yibum because it's a Simcha, your new woman in your life. Shema Mina, you see clearly from this Brisa, you're allowed to do Erisin on Chol Moed. The Shmuel really hold of this reasoning that someone else might take her first. Amarav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, Chol Yom V'Yom Baskel Yotzis V'Omeres. A heavenly voice or an internal voice comes. Check out Megillah Lamed Beis. Yotzis V'Omeres Bas Ploni L'Ploni Sada Ploni L'Ploni. Every day it says it's Nigzar. It's the decree is made in heaven. Which two people are going to get married? Which field? Which house is going to go to which person? So you see that it doesn't matter. Someone can't take someone who's supposed to go to you away from you. The Gemara says, what would Shmuel mean? That someone else will come before him in terms of with davening. He had the Rava, like the case of Rava Shamal who gavr the boy Rachme v'amrt is davenly planisa. He was davening for a certain woman. Amalei. And he heard this, Loti boy rachmehach. You shouldn't daven like that. If it's fit for you, she won't leave you. You'll get married to her. If she's not the one, so you're supposed to get. So then you're sort of denying the existence of Hashem. You don't believe that Hashem holds, views is not the right one for you. Basar haki shama dekamar oiu lamos mikama oi thomas mikame. Then he heard someone saying, presumably this person who was davening for a certain woman, he said, this person, EU, article is EU as I, the person who was davening. I would say not that way. EU, we'll get back to this in EU Metzion. Shiva's YouTube, we'll get there. I'm going to explain this Gemara fully. EU limos mikama, well, it translates with the art scroll. He said, either I should die before her, or Thomas mikame, or she should die before me. According to the art scroll, according to Rashi, he was very upset. He thought his philo would of somebody else came before him, so therefore he wanted he wasn't saying that the tefillah that someone else could take away your bride. He just was saying that he was saying that because of the racham and because of the davening, some explain this. He actually got married to the woman, but it was a very bad marriage. I'm not explaining according to Rashi. One of the explanations is a very bad marriage, so therefore He davened for something that wasn't the right thing for him, and he got angry about it. So he was forced to pray that either he should die first or she should die first. They wanted him to die. Amalei. So when Rava heard him davening, didn't I tell you the milsa haki? You shouldn't daven for this. Amar Rav Mishum Rabbi Ruim na Astrubli and Atom and Avina Meksuvim Hashem Ish al Ish. We see proofs from all the Torah and Avina Meksuvim that Hashem decides which man will be fit for which woman. In the Torah, Dechsev Ayan Lavan Suah Vayomer Hashem Yata Davar. When Eliezer went to get Rivka for Yitzchak, they said that Hashem arranges marriages. When Shimshon wanted to marry a Plishtis woman, they didn't know that Hashem controls him. Inheritance of a house and wealth comes from your parents. So Hashem Isha Maskeles, but Hashem decides which intelligent woman will be for which person. Amar Rav Mishum Reuven ben Astrubili. Amar Mesi Satana. Amar Rav Reuven ben Astrubili. Ein adam nechshav b'davar elken. So a person is not. People don't think he doesn't become suspicious. People are not suspicious of a person unless he did it. Meaning, if people are suspicious that someone did something, he must have done it. Maybe he didn't do the whole thing, but he did part of it. If they're suspicious, maybe he didn't do any of it, but at least he intended to do it. So here, at least we have proof that he saw other people do these things and he was happy. Meser of Yaakov, it's back to the tragedy of Chaim Walder. Gemara goes back to that. There was definitely suspicion. We'll see what level of suspicion you need, but even if he didn't do it, at least he saw other people and he was happy. Meser of Yaakov. It's really true. This pasuk says that when 10 tribes of Israel were put in Golus by Ashur, Melech Ashur, Bnei Yisrael, they said bad things about them. So the Gemara says, "Hasam lahachis hu da'avud." They were their suspicion. They really didn't do anything. So the Gemara says they were just angry at them. So when someone is angry, it's an enemy. We'll see if you're an enemy. So then we don't assume the suspicion necessarily tells you the truth. Tashma v'yiknu l'Moshe machna l'Aaron kadosh Hashem Korach got angry. They were jealous of Moshe and Aaron. Rav Shmuel bar Yitzchak Amar Malame. What does it mean? Shekol echad kina li'ishtam Moshe. They each warned their wife. They were suspicious that their wives were secluded with Moshe. Hasam Mishum Sino Da'ava. Again, he was an enemy of Moshe. Moshe, even though suspicious about Moshe, he didn't do what people thought he might have done. Tashma Amar Rabbi Yossi. Yeichelki im misha choshno sabadavar einbo. It should be my portion to be among those people that people suspect doing something, and I'll get the busha, I'll get the embarrassment, I'll get a reward for that. Amar of popular didi chashadon. People suspected me of doing something wrong with and I didn't do it. Lo kasha habakal. So the answer is habakal the pasuk, habakal the lo pasuk. It depends if the suspicion people keep on talking about it, or people talk about it for a little bit and then they stop talking. Habakal the lo pasuk ad kama. How long do people have to continuously talk about it, have the suspicion? Amar Abaye, Amar Li'em. My maidservant said, Dumi Damasa Yomo Palga. In a city, the suspicion has to be for a day and a half. It has to be continuous for a day and a half. If there was a period, a day and a half, where people dropped their suspicion, based on but we don't have to be worried about it. We said that if it stops, it's only if it doesn't stop because of fear. People are afraid of the suspected accuser. He threatened people. The suspected people threatened people. So then we still regard it as a good suspicion. When it stops, it's only if it doesn't go back to its original loudness or the original level of suspicion. But right when it stops and then it goes back to a really high level of suspicion, low, then we don't consider the stoppage effective. We only talk about where the person doesn't have enemies. He's a person, a mafia, or a person that has a lot of enemies. The enemies are the ones who created the sound, like we said before, by Moshe and by certain Amoraim. They were nechsha. People were suspicious they did something wrong. they had enemies, so therefore we don't deem the suspicion to be true. Hope you had a good day. We're gonna stop it over here, and I'm gonna get back to this Gemara about Shema Yikad Menu Acher, about another person suspicion about whether davening or whether a person could precede you and take your wife who doesn't belong to you through all davening and that. Have a good day. Bye.